improve the habitat management on our WMAs. We were just talking about the forest maturation and that's gone on across the landscape, and the same exact thing has gone on in our management areas. Like Ken showed you the pictures of McKee. Those hedgerows, they were established like 50 years ago, and now they're 50-year-old trees. Which, whether you're talking about woodcock or grouse or rabbits, it's not very good for them anymore. So anyway, this on our WMAs, one thing that's really sort of gotten in our way over the years is for most of the management areas, there's really been there's no management plan, or if there was a management plan, it was written by Tom Matthews back in 73. So about 5 or 6 years ago, we started down the road of trying to get plans done for our management areas, and it's sort of a glacially slow, governmental process, but we are getting there, and it's really, really important in terms of getting management done, because if you can imagine, if you got no plan, these are public areas. If you have an acre of land, it could be a parking lot, it could be a duck impoundment, it could be old growth forest, and so young forest is just one of the competing interests, and there's there's advocates for all those other things out there. So, they're all good in their own right, but without plans, it's really, really difficult. So we're slowly, trying to get a 15-year plan done for all our management areas, and it's going to help. I don't know if we'll get up through them before I retire, but we are getting them done. And Tom Matthews is going to talk to you next about work done in Mount Nebo, and that's a great example where that was the first place that a plan was. I think it was, when was it, 5 years ago? And in 2 or 6 years, there's been more management done there than in the previous 25. And the beauty of the plan, what we do is we get together, basically anybody, any departmental or other person, well, we actually start with departmental people that wants to be on this planning team can be on the planning team. And we go look at the area, we come up with new ideas, interject some different thinking. But in my mind, the really big thing we do is we identify areas where we don't really want any management. Maybe it's a rare species, old growth forest or whatever. And we identify areas where we can do management. But right up front, once we get the plan done, we've already worked out a lot of the hashing that goes on whenever you change something on a given acre. And when we do get around to doing a forest project, it smooths the road. It's not instantaneous. We still have to have reviews and things, but it's made things much more, just more has happened in a few years than literally in decades. One other thing is, even though we're the DNR and we get money from hunters, it's really, and you might think, well, these guys manage the management areas. They have a big budget, for example, to, if they need to cut alders or, whatever they need to do. They really don't. They have some money, to maintain the parking lots, plant a few food plots, that kind of thing. But if you want to talk about management that costs money, like, we go in and mechanically cut down trees, to create a young forest, there hasn't been any budget for that. But we've really, with this, here the last few years with the enthusiastic gun buying, the federal aid money that we've gotten has bumped up. They call it bump money. And we've gotten about $100,000 of that bump money dedicated to actually doing management areas. It's the kind of work, not the putting up signs and picking up trash, but actually doing habitat management that in the past, even if we'd wanted to do it, if it cost money, we didn't have any money to do it. And the other thing is that we're getting back into forest management. Other than a few places in western Maryland, cutting trees or, and commercial timber harvest has really not been a tool in the toolbox. Like on the eastern shore, on a management area, the last commercial timber harvest was in the mid-'80s. That's a long time. Habitat management. Yeah, that's what it's for, of course. But so in these plans, we're identifying areas where if a commercial timber harvest makes sense in terms of wildlife habitat, that's in the plan, and that's now a possibility. The other good thing is, in the past, when a timber harvest was done that made money, the money does come back to wildlife and heritage, but it kind of went in the big wildlife and heritage pool. So it might have been used to, pay for a secretary at Annapolis, or nothing against the secretaries at Annapolis, but now we have a commitment that the money from those sales gets rolled back into doing the kind of habitat management that we've wanted to see for a long, long time. So things are going in a better direction. The last thing I wanted to say was I think Bob said it, but like I said, any given acre of public land, there's a lot of good things you could do. If you're a butterfly person, you might want it to be a butterfly field, but I can't tell you how important it is that you guys and gals are advocates for this early successional habitat, because there's not many people left that are. And back in the 60s, when I said that we had so many woodcock in Maryland, the landscape was just reverting to a stage where it's really good for woodcock. But that was literally decades ago, obviously. And now, if you want to manage for grouse and woodcock, it just doesn't happen by itself. And it's expensive, and obviously it's young habitat, so you got to keep doing things to keep young habitat on the ground. And we really need advocates to, demand that it's out there, tell us when we do a good job, and just speak up for that kind of thing, because there's not many people left that aren't. So thank you. Thanks for doing what you do.